Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at the career of Steve Treviño, comedian, writer, producer. But we're not just looking at the jokes. Our focus is more on the business strategy behind it all. How he built this incredibly strong brand over, 2 decades? A brand that seems to work no matter who's actually distributing the content.
That's exactly it. That's the mission here. Trevino's career, when you track it, it's like a masterclass in owning your own content today. We're really going to trace how he went from being this young comic down in Texas back in '97
Yeah.
all the way to headlining and figuring out how to work with Showtime, then Netflix, Amazon Prime, and crucially, how he used YouTube for self-release. We're basically giving you the roadmap, how you build a modern comedy brand, and maybe more importantly, how you control it.
Okay, let's get into it. Steve Treviño, born January 16th, 1978, so he's 47 now. And his whole thing, his professional identity, it boils down to just 2 words, really. Relationship humor. He's kind of the definition of that relatable comic, takes all the messy, funny parts of marriage, family, being a dad, and makes everyone feel like he's talking about them.
Yeah, and that relatability, it's not just accidental. It's the bedrock of a really structured business plan. We're looking at almost 20 years of work here, right up to the 2024 special, Simple Man. And look at his list of jobs: comedian, writer, and producer. That third one, producer, that's the key. That's the strategy piece. He's not just showing up to tell jokes for a fee. He's thinking about the whole life cycle of his work, the IP.
Right. You look at his big specials, Till Death, relatable, Grandpa Joe's Son, there's a common thread. And you can't really talk about the brand without mentioning his wife, Renee. She's almost a character herself in his act. Known everywhere by that nickname, Captain Evil.
And Captain Evil, that's more than just a running gag. It's like a co-branded asset, strategically speaking. It instantly tells you what kind of comedy it is, who it's for. So what we want you, the listener, to get from this deep dive isn't just that he switched platforms, but why he did it. Understanding that shift, from licensing deals with Showtime to putting stuff out himself on YouTube, and what kind of power that gave him when he eventually went back to a big platform like Netflix. Okay, so if the brand is relatability, we got to start at the source. Where did it come from? Steve Treviño, he grew up in Portland, Texas, the Gregory Portland area specifically. That Texas identity and being a Mexican-American comic, it feels absolutely central to how grounded his humor is. Totally. It's local, it's authentic, it's specific. And when we talk about his life feeding the comedy, the sources have these great little details like the fact that fishing was their greatest family pastime. It's that kind of specific detail. It's not just any American childhood. It's a Texas Gulf Coast thing. And weirdly, that specificity makes it feel universally relatable. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And those details, they're not just throwaway lines, they become titles. Like his first big special, Grandpa Joe's Son. Right away, you know this is about family, roots, a real identity. It sets him apart from comics who might be more, conceptual or just purely observational.
And here's a fun little side note, maybe hint at a family trait for taking chances. Tom Treviño, the World Series of Poker champ from 2013-2014, is apparently in his family. So whether it's poker or, taking risks in comedy, maybe there's something in the blood there. Calculated risks.
Well, he certainly started taking his own risks early. Kicked off his career at 19. In 1997, started at the Addison Improv Comedy Club up in Addison, Texas. Tell us about that early grind. What was involved?
Yeah, 19 is incredibly young to start stand-up seriously. It must have taken serious hustle. And you see that hustle in the details we have. He wasn't just doing open mics. He saw the value in the business side early on. He used to volunteer, apparently, to drive the club's headliners to their radio interviews for promotion.
Wow. Okay, that's really smart. That's a business insight right there. He's not getting paid for driving, but he's getting this free education in real time. Learning how local media works, how you deal with the press, how you promote a show, long before it was his own show he needed to promote.
Exactly. Absorbing the business while learning the craft. And it looks like that networking paid off pretty quick. His first major gig, still at 19, was opening for Carlos Mencia. And that connection turned into something much bigger, really, his doorway into TV production.
Right. He leveraged that stage time into writing and producing.
Yeah.
2005 to 2006, he's listed as a writer and performer on Mencia's show, Mind of Mencia, on Comedy Central, which was, controversial, but definitely high profile. So that's 2 years learning how sketch comedy and TV production works from the inside.
And he didn't just stick with Mencia. By 2008, he had added another big credit. Writer and producer for Pitbull's show on Mun 2, La Esquina. So this shows he wasn't just a stand-up telling jokes. He was fundamentally becoming a multimedia creator, a producer, developing skills that would be absolutely critical for his later independence.
And importantly, while he was doing all this TV writing and producing in the mid to late 2000s, he kept performing. He kept showing up on national TV, doing stand-up, shows like The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, Comics Unleashed, Comic View. So he was building name recognition in the industry, making sure that when he eventually launched his own independent stuff, people would actually pay attention.
Precisely. Laying all the groundwork, building the skills, building the name, getting ready for what turned out to be a pretty major strategic turn.
Okay, this feels like a turning point. Moving from just building a career to really taking control. 2011 seems like the year things shifted, and it started with something pretty controversial, he said publicly.
Right. This is where Treviño maybe prioritized long-term credibility over short-term connections. He went on Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, which, even back in 2011, was hugely influential. And on that platform, he publicly called out Carlos Mencia, his old mentor, the guy who gave him his break, criticized him for the joke theft allegations and for, bumping other comics off shows.
That sounds like a massive risk, especially in comedy, which seems so built on loyalty. You could get blackballed, right? Labeled difficult. What did that do for his brand, his career path?
Well, yeah, it was definitely a professional separation, a divorce almost, but maybe one that solidified his own authenticity. Mencia was big then, but also carried baggage. By distancing himself, Treviño was basically saying, my brand is about honesty, professional integrity. It wasn't just about finding his artistic voice. It was setting a standard for how he operates, which is pretty vital if you later want people to back you as an independent producer. He was signaling, I stand on my own, ready to define his own path.
And that move, that stand he took, it comes right before his first big play for Control. Just a year later, 2012, he drops his first special, Steve Treviño, Grandpa Joe's son. And it's on Showtime.
And again, look at the title. Smart. Connects right back to those Texas roots, the family theme. But the really key detail is his credit. Writer and executive producer. This is where the switch flips. He's thinking like an owner now.
Let's pause on executive producer. That title usually means big money, studio backing. What does it mean for a comic on their first big special to get that credit?
It means control. Control over the creative, sure, but potentially control over the IP, the master recording. An EP credit often means you have a say in the budget, the final cut, and crucially, what happens to that special after the initial license runs out. For a relatively young comic to secure that, it means he wasn't just selling a performance, he was negotiating the future life of that product. He started controlling his work right from the beginning. So when that Showtime deal eventually ended, he likely retained the rights to take it elsewhere.
And he kept that producer role going into the next one. The second special, Steve Treviño. Relatable. It first aired on Nuvo TV February 2014. But then, the big move.
Wow.
It starts streaming on Netflix later that year.
Yeah, that's an interesting tactical play. Nuvo TV was smaller, right? More niche, which suggests maybe it was a strategic first step. Sell the initial license to a smaller player, maybe get better terms on secondary rights, or a shorter exclusivity window, specifically aiming for that bigger splash on Netflix later. Because Netflix in 2014, that was becoming the global stage.
Yeah.
Getting labeled a Netflix special was huge for reach, for solidifying the brand name worldwide.
And the fact that he filmed Relatable right there in Corpus Christi at the American Bank Center, his home turf, that just doubles down on the whole brand, making his big moment feel really authentic, rooted in where the comedy comes from.
Exactly. So this period, it shows he really understood the distribution game. Use the smaller outlets to set up the right structure you want, then leverage that onto the giant platforms for maximum eyeballs, all while keeping that crucial executive producer credit. That control allowed him to pivot again and again in the years that followed.
So if phase one was getting control, phase two, maybe the next 5 years or so, seems to be about proving he could navigate the changing landscape. Treviño didn't just pick a platform and stay there. He treated streaming like, different markets to tap into, platform hopping to maximize who saw his stuff.
Yeah, this is where the strategy gets really visible. He's not complacent. Look at how it unfolds. Late 2017, he starts making his third special, Steve Treviño. Till Death. It comes out January 2019. The theme, relationship humor, it's still core, maybe even deeper.
Right.
But the distributor, it changes again.
Right. Till Death ends up on Amazon Prime Video. So he's done premium cable, Showtime, the big subscription streamer, Netflix, and now he's on Amazon's platform. What's the strategic thinking there? Moving from Netflix to Amazon Prime, is there a difference?
Oh, definitely. They reach different, though overlapping, audiences and operate differently. Netflix is all about keeping subscribers hooked with content. Amazon Prime Video is tied into this massive retail machine. For a comic whose whole brand is relatable, family stuff, being on Amazon puts him right where his target demographic is already shopping, living their daily lives. It's potentially a different kind of engagement, maybe different deal terms, too. Shorter exclusive periods, perhaps. More control over international rights. We don't know the specifics, but it was clearly a calculated move. But the constant, he's still credited as writer and executive producer on all three, keeping that IP control.
Then 2020 happens, the pandemic, everything shuts down, live comedy disappears overnight. Most comics went quiet, production-wise. But Treviño, he actually made a special during lockdown, Steve Treviño, My Life in Quarantine.
This one is just wild from a production standpoint. He filmed it in October 2020, in front of a live audience, but they were all socially distanced, wearing masks. Think about that. It wasn't just a Zoom thing. He kept the live element, somehow. Shows incredible commitment to the form, even under impossible conditions.
And the way he released it, that also showed a move towards independence, right? It wasn't Netflix or Amazon. He put it out through a site called On Location Live.
Exactly. That's really significant. The big players were probably hesitant, figuring out their own COVID protocols. He just bypassed them. Went direct-to-consumer using this platform. That had to be a massive learning experience, controlling ticketing, data, audience interaction directly. It was like a dry run for going fully independent later, proving he could make money without the big gatekeepers if he had to.
And the content itself was interesting. My Life in Quarantine wasn't just stand-up. It was like a hybrid show. New comedy, yes, but also an episode of his podcast, filmed right there with the distanced audience.
Total content synergy, merging the streams. If you like a stand-up, boom, here's the podcast, reinforcing the whole brand. And the special had his son Garrett, his mom Miss Dora, his father-in-law Daddy Raymond. It was leaning hard into that idea. The Treviño family is the content, the relatability engine.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the big leap in 2022. His fifth special, Steve Treviño, I Speak Wife. He produces it himself, films it down in Waco, Texas, and then he just gives it away. Independently released, totally free, just on YouTube, October 21, 2022.
Right. Now this needs a closer look. Why? Why give away your main product for free after you've successfully sold 4 specials to major outlets? The financial risk seems huge.
Was it just about getting views, or was there something else going on there? What was the goal, if not immediate cash?
Well, it looks terrifying financially, only if you prioritize that upfront license fee above everything else. But think about the long-term play. The ROI here wasn't cash, it was leverage and data. By releasing I Speak Wife for free, he did a few key things strategically. 1, audience ownership. He drove everyone to his channel. He owns those subscriber numbers, the engagement data, the comments, everything. 2, global reach. No paywalls, no regional restrictions. Instantly available everywhere. Maximum brand exposure. And 3, proving power. This was the big one. He was showing Netflix, Amazon, everyone. Look, I control the audience. I can get millions of views on my own for free. Imagine what that audience will do if you put my next special on your platform.
Okay, so the free special wasn't the end game, it was a setup for the next move. Which brings us to 2024, his 6th special, Steve Treviño, The Simple Man. And where does it land? Right back on Netflix. The circle is complete.
Exactly. But it's not a failure of the independent strategy, it's the payoff. Think about that negotiation with Netflix for Simple Man. Treviño wasn't just another comic asking for a deal. He walked in as a proven commodity. A self-producer with hard data showing his massive, engaged, global audience data he owned thanks to that free YouTube special. That changes the negotiation entirely. He demonstrated his market value independently. He had immense leverage.
And none of the strategy, this platform hopping and independence, works without the core product being so consistent, right? He managed to turn his actual marriage, his family life, into this reliable multi-platform content engine. Let's talk about Renee, Captain Evil, specifically as part of the brand.
Oh, Captain Evil is just brilliant branding. Relationship humor, it thrives on shared experience, laughing at the struggles.
Yeah.
Giving his wife this nickname, it's slightly edgy but clearly affectionate. It instantly gives the audience permission to laugh along. It makes the normal conflicts of marriage funny and, well, relatable. She's the perfect foil for his onstage persona.
And they made that partnership official, in a way, with the podcast. Steve Treviño and Captain Evil, the podcast. Launched June 3, 2020. Right in the thick of the pandemic shutdown. That timing seems deliberate.
Absolutely deliberate.
Yeah.
Stand-up tours were dead. The industry was paused. What did he do? Launched a weekly dose of intimacy. Kept his connection warm with the audience when he couldn't tour. And the format. So simple, so effective.
Yeah.
Just them talking. Marriage, family, life. weekly.
And look how they distribute the podcast. Same wide approach as the specials. Facebook, YouTube, other podcast distributors, it's everywhere. It's the constant drip feed of content that supports the big special releases every couple years.
It creates this continuous loop. The podcast gives you the behind the scenes of the relationship. It adds depth to the Captain Evil character. So when you watch the stand-up, which pulls so much from that life, it lands even harder. It feels more real, more relatable. He's basically running a content business fueled by his own family life.
And it's crucial to remember, through all of this, he's wearing all three hats consistently: comedian, writer, and producer. That ability to finance and produce his own stuff, that seems to be the foundation for all the strategic movement.
No question. And you see that same multi-platform thinking in his other appearances over the years.
Yeah.
He stays visible. Shows like The Daily Buzz, The Bob and Tom Show, panel, stuff like that. That's entertainment. He's not just a stand-up special guy. He found this niche relationship humor that cuts across a lot of divides. It's broadly accessible. And he built a machine around it by controlling the production and IP.
He figured out early: control the product, control the production, and you can basically write your own ticket when it comes to distribution. You dictate the terms because you own the core asset. Okay, let's wrap this up. We followed Steve Treviño from, volunteering to drive comics to radio shows at the Addison Improv, through that really gutsy public critique of Mencia, that bottom authenticity, all the way to mastering platform strategy, hitting Showtime, Netflix, Amazon, going independent and coming back again. It's this unique mix. Texas-rooted relationship comedy, yes, but combined with this sharp, almost aggressive business sense about intellectual property and distribution. It really feels like a playbook for creators today.
It really does. That whole arc is a case study in modern digital distribution. The guts to leave Showtime, navigate Netflix and Amazon, and then the really bold move, releasing a full special for free on YouTube. That shows such a deep grasp of audience ownership, knowing your value and how to prove it.
And the engine driving all these business moves is that incredibly consistent, seamless integration of his personal life. Grandpa Joe, Ms. Dora, the kids, and obviously Renee, Captain Evil. That relatable tag isn't just a description. It's like the operating system for the whole Treviño enterprise.
Which brings us right to the core takeaway, I think. Look at the last two big data points we covered. 2022, he drops I Speak Wife for free on YouTube. Proves he can pull massive numbers entirely on his own. Then, just 2 years later, 2024, he's back on the biggest stage, Netflix, with Simple Man.
Okay, so here it is, our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on. What does that sequence-free, independent release followed by a top-tier platform return tell us about power in the streaming world right now? If an artist can prove definitively that they command a huge audience without any help from the big guys, does putting your best work out there for free online become the new power move? Is it the ultimate audition? A negotiating tactic that basically forces the major streamers to come to you with better deals because you've already shown you own the audience they want access to.
It suggests maybe the game isn't just about platforms commissioning content anymore. Maybe now they also have to compete to license the audience that creators bring with them.